Karen Silkwood walked away from a college scholarship to elope with 18-year-old Bill Meadows. Karen's impetuous decision stunned her family.
It was a total surprise, I feel like, to all of us. Just totally blown away and hoped for the best. Sad that she wouldn't be there. She wasn't going to be at home with us anymore. She was going to be with him.
Karen's father was furious that she'd given up on her education. He refused to give the couple his blessing. He wouldn't speak to Bill and would never forgive him for taking his daughter away.
None of the families were for their relationship, which probably, drew them. My dad was a rebel. Karen was a rebel, so I'm sure it drew them closer.
Karen's first year with Bill was an adventure. They moved to Corsicana, Texas, southeast of Dallas. Bill got a job as a machinist for Mobil Oil, Karen as a clerk for a hat company. Whenever they could, they hit the road, driving hundreds of miles just to see the country. Bill's rebellious nature unleashed the more daring side of Karen.
We used to go down to Lake Dallas and jump off of the railroad trestle into the lake, which was about 40, 50 feet high. She kept doing that. The last time she did, she was, I think, 7 months pregnant with Christy.
Karen gave birth to a daughter, Christy, in November 1966. 2 years later, a son, Michael, was born, and the family moved to Duncan, Oklahoma. There, 24-year-old Karen gave birth to a third child, Dawn, in 1970.
She took good care of the kids. She took real good care of them. She made sure they had everything they needed and kept them nice and clean and well fed. We had happy kids.
But as Karen's family grew, her common-law marriage started to crumble.
We knew she was having problems in the marriage, and at one point she had even moved back home with the kids. And Bill called, talked her into coming back, said things would be different. So she tried it again.
Money was tight, and creditors hounded the couple. They were forced to declare bankruptcy. Karen's husband was spending more time away from home indulging in his two passions, motorcycles and women.
Karen found out that Bill was having an affair. He cheated on her in a very serious way, to the point where he was in love with the other woman and wanted to marry her. And she was devastated by that.
The identity of this other woman was no mystery to Karen. Her husband's new girlfriend worked at the motorcycle shop where he moonlighted. Bill would often bring the children with him to the garage.
Fell in love with her kids, and we'd watch them occasionally, and then she didn't come around the shop much. But a lot of times Bill would have the kids over there, so I thought they were the cutest things I ever saw the first time I drove up.
Hurt and humiliated, Karen demanded a divorce. Bill refused unless she agreed to give up custody of the children. Karen knew she could not support them on her own, so she made one of the most painful decisions of her life.
She says, I'm leaving, and I'm leaving in a couple of days, but I want you to know, and I want you to know if you're going to be here for the kids. I said, yeah, just let me, if that's what you're going to do, let me know when. She said, I know you'll love them and take care of them.
In 1972, after 7 years together, Karen left Bill and her 3 children, ages 5, 3, and 22 months.
It was on a Saturday morning because cartoons were on, and she told me she was going to run up to the store and get some cigarettes to keep an eye on my brother and sister. And she walked out that door, and she didn't ever come back in.
As a young adult, a young child, it's still kind of hurt that she would leave, because I can't imagine leaving my children for anything.
For the second time in her young life, Karen left behind the world she knew. She headed north to Oklahoma City, 80 miles away from her children.
Now, she's no longer a mother. She's no longer a wife. And she has to become a bread earner.
Karen heard that Oklahoma's largest employer, energy company Kerr-McGee, was hiring lab technicians at its Cimarron River plutonium processing plant in the nearby town of Crescent.
Kerr-McGee was one of the leaders in energy. The company was one of the first to look ahead and see that there was going to be a need for uranium and nuclear fuels.
This was the opportunity Karen had dreamed of, a career in science in the booming nuclear power industry.
It was a good job. Most of us kind of liked working there. We felt like we were doing something that was worthwhile. We were helping the company. Maybe we were doing something that was good for the country, good for humanity.
In early August 1972, Karen received minimal training and began working in the metallurgy lab. She polished fuel rods packed with radioactive plutonium pellets and checked for faults where the rods were sealed shut. She learned how to handle these materials in a closed, so-called glove box.
Now she's on her own and she has a job, a very important job in a big company, a Fortune 500 company, in a very nice place, a lab, where she could do scientific work. She wanted to excel.
Karen had also met an exciting new man at the plant. Within a month, she and Drew Stevens were a couple. Drew was also going through a divorce, and he and Karen found comfort in each other. He showed her the ropes in town and on the job.
He was just a cool, good-looking guy. She must have been something to get a guy like Drew as interested in her as he obviously was.
Karen's energy and willingness to learn appealed to Drew. He was concerned about safety issues at the plant and convinced Karen to join the Oil, Chemical, and Atomic Workers Union. She had been working at the plant for just 3 months when the union went on strike for better wages and safer working conditions. Kerr-McGee made no concessions, and the strike failed miserably. It was back to work as usual.
There was bitterness all over the plant. People who didn't belong to the union felt that Kerr-McGee was now going to take it out on the workers and make things worse. And the union got nothing except 10 weeks on the picket line.
The union had lost more than its fight. The strike had deepened the wedge between non-union workers and activists like Karen Silkwood. Walking the picket lines hardened her resolve and prepared her for a very dangerous mission.